Welcome to Marlene's Atelier. In this week's lesson, I'm going to be showing you how to lay and cut the beautiful ruby red lining that I selected for the Swing Baby Swing Coat. So stick around. There's a lot going on this week in the Atelier. All right, so let's get ready to cut some lining. And I know when we had originally talked about the 5 layers of design, I wasn't really sure what kind of lining I was going to use. I wanted to find something and pick something out. And boy, did I ever. Look at this beautiful scarlet red lining. I mean, you pair that with this gorgeous black and white Prince of Wales, and I don't know how you can go wrong with that. I mean, that is just too beautiful. And I can just imagine once the coat is done, you go and open up your coat or you swing around, or maybe a gust of wind sweeps your coat up and reveals this beautiful lining. How can it get any better? My God. But we have to create it, so let's not get too carried away. Yeah? All right. So the first thing that we have to do, I picked a plain lining because I got lazy after cutting that bloody plaid. And I think I mentioned when I was showing you how to lay and cut on plain cloth, or not cut, but how to lay on the plain cloth, right? I told you you had to find the grain and you should rip it. Well, I'm going to show you how to do that here because we need to find the grain on this as well. So what I'm going to do is come in here with my scissors and just snip a tad here and literally take it, give it a good, hold on to it good and tight, and just give it a good tear all the way through. Okay? That's how you find the grain. It's very satisfying, especially if you've had a bad day. It's very satisfying to find the grain. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to take the selvage, all right, and the edge of the grain that we just found, and we're going to lay them together real nice so they're nice and even, okay? It's always easier said than done. It sounds great in theory. Okay. And again, we're working obviously on the wrong side of the cloth, of course. I'm going to open this up a little bit more. Okay. Let this hang down a little bit. There we go. All right. That makes it much easier. Okay. Or so I thought. All right. All right, so now that we have the grain all laid out real nice, let's go ahead and start putting together our pieces or laying out our pieces. So we have to imagine that I already have inlay in the back of my jacket here. So of course my lining is also going to include that inlay, but I'm going to leave just a tiny bit more along the center back seam, all right? Now, the lovely thing about all this is because we've laid everything, or we've gotten the grain laid out, we can take our ruler or a tape measure, and we can just make sure that if we, measure into the lining here, that we're about spot on. Oops, let's make sure I'm right there. Here, 56, there, 56. So we're all good right there, okay? So we can tell now that I've got everything lined up, all we need to do, this is so simple, I can take my pins and just pin my piece my cloth to the lining. And because this is a plain cloth, all right, I can go in and literally just cut this on the double, okay? The other thing that I want to do, I'm just going to leave this piece here for now. I also want to bring in my sleeves. Now, what's important to note about the sleeves is that we need to leave a little more inlay around the sleeves so that when we go to fit them into the jacket, you have to imagine the lining is going to come in and over the sleeve inside the jacket. So we're actually going to be leaving another inch of inlay at the top, all right, of the sleeves, both the top sleeve and the undersleeve. So we're just going to lay these guys here like this, okay? And then the jacket will come down here. The other thing that we want to do is we have our balance lines, which I know are a little hard to see here, but at a minimum, we want to notch our balance lines at the length. This gives us a vantage point when we're putting everything together because we want to make sure that our lining isn't tight, okay? It's really important to leave ease in our lining. And we also don't want it to twist. So if we cut just a little at the length on the sleeves and on the back of the jacket and so forth, we can assure that we won't be twisting or having things too tight. All right? All right, enough of my chitter chatter. What I'm going to do here is I am going to leave just an extra centimeter, okay, along my center back seam, just in case I want to make a couple changes, et cetera, or I need just a little extra ease along the back of my coat. So I'm just chalking in a white line here. I'm sure you can see, not compared to the other, what was a mess. And all I have to do now, because I know it's on grain, and because I'm cutting on a plain cloth, I can just cut on the double or on the single. Sorry, on the double. So I'm just leaving that extra centimeter. A lot of people get really intimidated by lining, but you shouldn't, because it's not difficult. It's just another type of cloth. Okay, we already have our seam here at the top, so I can just come straight across. Cut off all this fuzzy stuff. My scissors they get a little dusty, and then they start not behaving themselves. All right, so here is my length, so I can put a little notch there. And then here, just cut up the edge. Cutting off those little zha-zhas, as I like to call them. All right. And then over here at my length, I just want to give myself a little notch. So I know, done. Okay? That's it. So that's the back. I'm not even going to take my pins out. I'm going to leave everything together and just fold it like so and put it aside. Okay? We'll move our sleeves a little closer to us. So again, we want to just make sure that our grain is straight on the pattern here. And it looks to be so. And so we can just pin. Actually, I could probably move this over a little bit and up and over. Pin that. Just make sure this is the same now. 29, 32, okay. All right. Okay. And now I said that I wanted to add an extra inch or 2.5 centimeters all around here. Okay, this is really important, like I said, so that we have enough lining to line the interior of the sleeve and come up over the shoulder. So that's going to look like that there. Okay, just like that. That's the additional amount we're going to leave on the sleeve. And cut that. Now here it's smart to leave a little notch on where this balance line is here, where we left that additional bit of inlay. Just put a little notch there. We're going to need that later as well. I actually use these scissors. They're a little easier to cut lining with. Those other ones are monsters. And when I want to get in here and do something quick, those scissors are not always so phenomenal for that. Here, my original length, I want to give that a notch. Okay. And then here, we're just going to come straight down. We do a notch right here. Just a little notch in both places. Get that there? Here. It's notch. And here. It's a little notch. Whoops. It's a little notch right here. So we have a notch here. We have a notch here at the length. Boom. We have a notch here at the length. And we have a notch up top. So put that aside. Let's bring this guy up here so we can see what's going on. Wonderful. All right, great. Smooth him down just a little bit so you can see what's going on here. And again, we want to make sure that this piece is in line with the grain. We need to make sure that we're leaving 2.5 centimeters on the top, which we have plenty. In fact, we can move that up slightly. Okay, and then our grain. Let's see what we have here. All right, so here again, I'll chalk in that 2.5 centimeters. And we'll go ahead and pin this. Make sure it's held on nicely. And we'll give that all right. And now I just want to add a little notch here at the length here. All right, at the top here as well. And again here at the length. If you're enjoying today's lesson, please like, share, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. The thing that's really important to understand about the front of the jacket is that we are not going to be putting lining in the whole entire thing, okay? We're actually going to have facing on the inside of the jacket. So if you look at our wonderful little guy here, okay? What you're seeing here on the outside of this jacket is facing. And so the facing is on the outside, and it also goes onto the inside, all right? So when our lapel flips over, our facing is seen on the outside. So what we're really looking to do is cut lining for everything else except for the facing. And so what we really need to take a look at is where is our facing going to be, all right? So usually what we would do All right, and I'm just going to bring this little guy, which is the top of our I'm going to bring the yoke into the situation here, okay? So because I'm going to actually cut the lining to include the yoke. I'm not going to do a separate piece for the yoke in the front. I will in the back. So if we're to look at this, I would probably be putting facing about 4 centimeters or so back, okay, from the beginning of the jacket here, all right? And then I would probably come back a good, probably 10 centimeters in the front, okay? So if I just take my jacket front and I fold it back like so, all right? Just like this, because I don't need lining here. See, here's my lapel, which is going to fold back like this, okay? And I'm going to also, in addition to the lapel, I'm also going to have probably another 4 or 5 centimeters back from that, all right? That's facing. So this can be folded back like so, all right? We'll get that out of the way. We'll just include that there. And this can be folded back like so, all right? And what we want to do then is we want to cut enough facing, or excuse me, enough lining to include in just this part of the jacket right here that you see, okay? All right, so this is going to have a little bit of a curve to it, which is fine, okay? And of course, we're going to do the same thing with the yoke. It's going to be all cut as one piece, okay? So we can put a little pin here just to hold that down. Keep it out of the way. All right. So in addition to all that, the other thing that we have to think about is the inlay that we need around this area, right? So I want to leave a little bit of inlay around the arm side here, okay, up and around the arm side. I'm going to probably leave about an extra centimeter all around the arm side here, all right? So we have just a bit of extra. I'm going to leave 5 centimeters of inlay at the top here, all right, because I'm going to be adding a nice pleat on the inside of my coat so that I've got a little bit more movement, okay? Then here around the arm side, I'll probably leave a centimeter all around the arm side, just in case I need a little something to work with there as well. All right, that's about the gist of it there. I may just leave an extra centimeter here because we might need a little extra room inside when we go to put in the lining. I like, especially with a coat, we want to make sure there's enough ease on the inside so that we don't have any pulling or tugging. All right, so that we're going to do that there as well. So this is pretty easy because what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull this forward so I'm not wasting a lot of lining here because I don't need all that. What I am going to do here is I am going to leave a seam. So if I'm ending my facing here, okay, I want to leave a seam in the lining so I have enough. I don't want to have a raw edge, okay? So I'm going to leave a 1 centimeter seam there as well, okay? So let's just go ahead and chalk all that in so we know what the heck we're doing. And again, we do want to leave our balance lines where they belong. So here I'm leaving that centimeter all around the arm side. I'm going to leave the 5 centimeters up top. Here. And then I'm leaving a little extra here in the front, just in case I need to shape or my shape changes a little bit. I'm leaving like 2 centimeters, just to have it. It never hurts. You know, we can always trim it back if we don't need it, but if we need it, we're in a tough situation. If we need it and we don't have it, that's the worst, okay? So that's pretty easy. Then the rest is just, we're ready to go. Let's make sure that we're lined up too. I didn't do that. I'm sure we're fine. Here, maybe a slight adjustment it looks like, but I don't think so. There. There. No, that's spot on. Okay, good. All right. So here, just come in and away we go. All right. I can't see my chalk line anymore for my inlay for the length, so I have to measure it out. Okay. Okay, and then finally, here for our balance line. And there's the front ready to go. And now all we have is our one last little piece here, which is for our yoke. And since we only need one piece, we can lay this out really any way we want. Doesn't really matter. So we'll just find a nice piece here. It is important with this piece let's get this centered here nice so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, we do want to leave extra inlay in a few areas on this piece, okay? Here on the shoulder line, I want to leave an extra 2 centimeters of inlay, 2.5 centimeters actually, all around the shoulder, okay, and around the neckline. That's really important so that we have plenty of room. Again, we have shoulder pads that are going in and that type of thing. So we want to make sure that we have enough inlay in the lining so that we don't create any tightness along the neckline or on the shoulder line. So here we'll just go ahead and line this up nicely. I'll just double check, make sure things are in line. And I can chalk that 2.5 centimeters here very nicely in. Okay. In fact, we could cut this on the double, or we could cut this, just fold it in half, but we'll do it like this. This is fine. This works just as well. I think it would be good to pin it so it's not sliding all over the place. Here we go. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. All right, so that's it. Thank you for joining me in the atelier today. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson on how to cut that beautiful ruby red lining. In next week's lesson, I'm going to be showing you how to cut the foundational material, i.e. the canvases that are going to go into supporting our beautiful swing coat. You won't want to miss it, so make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the atelier next week.